More of the same as we begin the 10th chapter of the book of Hosea. Gefen bokek Yisrael, pri Yeshavelo. Karov lefiryo, hirba lemizbachot, ketov la'artso, heitivu matzevot. Israel is a destroyed vine. Its fruit is like it, right? Remember the last chapter talked about its fruit. It's going to be destroyed. The children are going to be killed. This is of course, the prophecy mainly for the northern kingdom, which is exiled during this time period by the Assyrians. So, right, even their fruit, everything is going to be destroyed. His fruit was plentiful, but then what happened? They built all sorts of idols and all sorts of altars. Now that his boughs are broken up, and now that he feels his guilt, and now that he pulls away from the altars and he smashes his pillars, right? Doing tshuva. Because now they say, we have no king. We did not fear God. What can a king do for us? And remember, if we've spoken about that, this book, the background, again, this is the northern kingdom, the kingdom of Ephraim, is imploding. There have been coups. There was Menachem. There was Pekach. There's Pekachia. There are all these kings who are 3 years, 6 years. This is after the time of Yeravam II, who reigns for about 50 years, if I remember. And he has a very, he's not a great religious leader, but he's a great military leader. And there's a lot of as a result, Bnei Yisrael are very successful militarily, and they're very successful politically, and they're very successful financially. But this is after the kingdom's imploding, right? You don't have coups after coups and killings of kings, and if things are fine. And so that's what's going on here. And they're saying, what can a king do for us? Dibru, we're in verse 4, Pasuk Dal, Dibru devarim alot shav koreit brit, ufarach karosh mishpat al talmei sadai. Right? They can make agreements, they can make covenants with all of their oaths, which are false, and there is no justice. Justice is gone. It's shav, and what happens is it's like poisonous weeds. The field, everything is destroyed. Eglon beit aven yaguru shechan shomron. The people of Shomron, those who are the shechinim, the neighbors, those who live in Samaria. What are they scared of? They're scared of their egel. We talked about this yesterday, the last couple of days, when we talk about, right, what was the first thing that went wrong with the northern kingdom right at its beginning. Yeravam ben Nevat, chosen by God. There's a prophet, Achiyah Shiloni, who says, you're going to be king. 10, he rips 10 pieces from the garment. You're going to get 10 tribes. Yehuda is going to be left with only 2. David's descendants only 2. And what happens? He builds these Eglei Zahav and Dan, plates them in Beit El, so Bnei Yisrael, so the northern kingdom won't go down to Yerushalayim anymore. And so those calves are symbolic of the problems. Ki aval alav amo uchmarav alav yagilu al kvodo ki gala mimenu. Right? It's people and it's priests, the young priests who were once joyful. Now they mourn over it because their glory, their kavod has been gala, their kavod has been exiled. Interesting to think about. Again, Hosea lives right before Yechezkel, but a big piece with the previous book, Yechezkel, is about the kavod or the Merkava. Different names are given. We'll call it the largest concentration of God's presence in the earth, which leaves from Yerushalayim in that book. And here the kavod, the respect, the honor, the people of the northern kingdom are also going into exile. We're in Pasuk Vav. Gamo tola ashur yuval min Elimelech yarev b'shana Ephraim yikach v'yevosh Yisrael me'atzato. Right, they'll be brought to Assyria. Right, as a way to sort of pay off the king as a tribute. Ephraim will be saddened. Israel will be dismayed and embarrassed by what is going to happen to them. And the Assyrians, of course, do come and destroy everything but Yerushalayim during the time of Chizkiyahu, who was the king of Judah. Nidmeh Shomron Malka keketzef al pnei hamayim. Shomron's monarchy, Shomron's king, is vanishing like foam upon the water. It goes back to the earlier chapters. I think it was chapter 2 or so, chapter 3, chapter 4, I don't remember, which had all the images of nature. Bnei Yisrael think that they're going to be like a soaking rain, their tshuva that's going to soak up the fields, and God said, your tshuva is nothing. It's only dew. It's not something that's going to keep around. It's something that's going to disappear and dissipate. They're not going to be crops growing, right? You're like a cloud that's moving here 1 second and gone the next day, right? And so here we go back again with the idea of Bnei Israel is the northern kingdom is that they are there. It's momentary. They're on their way, just like their tshuva would only be momentary. Their kingdom is only going to be momentary. This time it's on its way to destruction. The shrines of Israel will be ruins. The sins of Israel, thorn and thistles will grow on their altar. Right? And what are they going to say? Bury us, fall on us, right? Things are going to be so desperate that they're just going to want death. They're just going to want killing. That's how bad it's going to be. You've sinned, Israel, more than in the days of the Giv'ah. There they stand at the Giv'ah. They were not overtaken by a war upon scoundrels. What this refers to, and we had in the last chapter, the incident of Pilegesh Begivah, the gang rape of a man's concubine by the people in the land of Binyamin, in the territory of Binyamin, who the man goes to stay with them at night. He doesn't want to stay amongst the Yevusim. He wants to stay with his own people. And what does he get? They're ready to rape him. They rape his concubine. She is killed or dies shortly after. It's unclear. And that initiates the man, cuts up her body, sends it all over Israel, and there's a war against the tribe of Binyamin, who is almost completely and utterly destroyed. So to say that things are worse than that is quite a statement, because it appears in many ways that's the worst thing that happens in the entire Tanakh. This gang rape and this murder, and then it leads to a civil war and death and destruction. It's killing and more killing and rape and violence and horror. So it must have been bad if it's saying it's even worse than that. And when we learned that chapter is very much where the tribe of Binyamin is described as like Sodomites. Their lack of hospitality in contrast to Abraham's hospitality. Verse 10, as people gather against them, when I chose them, I broke them, harnessing them. For two pharaohs, but what did Ephraim became? He became a trained heifer. Again, the idea of the egel, right? But he wanted to thresh. I placed a yoke upon him, upon his slick neck. I will make Ephraim plow. Yehuda will do the main plowing. Yaakov shall do final plowing, right? So God is trying. He's trying to keep the people in line, but they don't want to stay in line, right? We're trying to make them plow. They're only following themselves. They're not listening to the master whose yoke they're supposed to take. So what is he saying to them? Sow righteousness, reap the fruits of kindness and goodness, right? Enough, have fresh ground. Find a teacher, Yoret Tzedek, a teacher who will teach you righteously. Charashtem resha avlata kitzartem achaltem pri kachash kivatachta b'darkecha berov giborecha. Right? What have you done? Charash, again, the plowing. You've plowed with wickedness. You've reaped with iniquity. So your fruits will be treachery because you relied on your own way, on your warriors. And a lot of this, right? There's a lot of images of planting and meaning fruits, and meaning descendants and children, right? And the part of this whole idea is that Bnei Israel have not educated their children properly, and it's just one generation after the other who sins, and we need a new teacher. We need a Yoret Tzedek, which they have not done. They have not done that. The Ka'am, we're in 14. Sha'on ba'amecha v'chol mivtzarecha yushad kashod Salman Beit Arbel b'yom milchama aim al banim rutasha. But war is coming to your own people, and all of your mivtzar, your fortresses, your places will be destroyed, ravaged, just like Beit Arvel was ravaged by Shalman on the day of battle, when mothers and babies were dashed to death together. Right there again, the reference to the destruction that's going to come to them very, very soon. Kacha asalachem Beit El mipnei ratratchem bashachar nidmo nidma melech Yisrael. This is what Bethel has done to you because of your wickedness. At the dawn of Israel's monarchy, you will utterly perish, right? I think the reference there, the saying the dawn, right, is meaning the beginning, the calves, right from the get-go. This is what it was. From the get-go, your intentions were evil, your intentions were wicked. And we saw this, if we think back to one thing in the book of Kings, one thing that we talked about in the book of Kings is that the measuring sticks are very, very different. The kings of Yehuda, to be a good king, you have to be on par with David or better. We know David obviously sins, does terrible sin with Bathsheba, with Uriah, right? His adultery, the murder, and makes terrible mistakes, but he does tshuva, and his heart is in the right place. He's with God, and his intentions are good. The measuring stick for the kings of Israel is Yeravam ben Nevat, who seems like a good guy. He has the will of the people. He's trying to do good, but then very quickly after God makes him the king of Israel, what does he do? Idolatry and keeping Bnei Israel from going to Jerusalem, which is the place where God abodes. It's a much lower measuring stick. You don't have to be that good to be a good king of Israel, but nevertheless, most of them did not even surpass Yeravam. And so what we have is, what we're saying is, from the get-go, this northern kingdom was problematic. It could have been good. Yeravam was given the chance. There's a midrash that says that God was talking to Yeravam, and I don't remember all the details, and God says, you'll be, if you do things properly, you'll be walking with me in Gan Eden. I don't know if he says with King David, with Avram and Yeravam, and I don't remember the details. The midrash, I haven't heard in many years. Yeravam says to him, who's going to be walking in front, me or Avram, or me and David? And God says sort of like, you're going to be behind them. And Yeravam says, then I'm done. Right? If I'm not going to be the top of the top, then I'm not going to do this. So from the get-go, that kingdom, which could have been a kingdom that revolted because of the taxes that Shlomo and Rechavam, his son, placed upon Bnei Israel, because of Rechavam's decision to continue to tax them too much, overly tax them, even after the Beit HaMikdash was built, even after all the palaces were built. It could have been a kingdom that was about righteousness, was about poor, but that's not how it starts. And thus we're told here, it's not going to end well either.